Hello, welcome to a video where we're going to talk about Milwaukee, because I haven't really thought too much about Milwaukee as I won't be attending it. But that's going to be really cool to have another DLC coming up very soon. And for set 9, like the way the game's worked is it's just a very small card pool. Certain decks have shined. There hasn't been incredible innovation. There was a few things with green purple happening, but it didn't result in any top cut finishes or any top 32s or firsts or anything like that. So I think for the most part, the meta is completely figured out, and it's sort of playing the roulette of what's going to be the most popular thing on the day, in my opinion. We could still see some very interesting stuff with Ruby Amethyst coming out. Sapphire Steel was always popping around, and I'll admit during Bologna in the Swiss rounds, when we were talking to the Sapphire Steel players, it looked like they were doing very, very well. So there's always reasoning for them to do very well as well in Milwaukee. But I think for the most part, the general thing, everything is sort of figured out, and it's kind of taking the deck that you think is going to be the right for the room, what the percentages and other decks are going, and all those little things that you can kind of do prepared. Some people really like figured out metas. Some people like it when the room is very wide and there's loads of things and loads of spice going on. Myself, I don't know. I don't really mind. I've played in both metas and I could be annoyed at both of them. So for starters, I'm going to go through each deck, like the reasoning why I'd bring it and what I think is the best deck to bring for the event. And I think I'm going to start off with dogs. I think most people, especially at the certain levels of the game, I've seen a lot of people kind of really thinking dogs is going to be a very strong choice for the event. And if you look at its conversion in Bologna as well, it was really great. There was quite a lot of it in top 8, in top 32. It kind of, for that event, especially in Bologna, the way it all panned out was it had a very good matchup into Blurple, and it had a very good matchup into Amber Steel, which gave it, two of the most popular decks in the room. You went in having favoured matchups. I think the thing that's always kept dogs back is that its Purple Steel game is subpar. I think it can still win it. It's still very skill based. I think there's a lot of depth to dogs, but I think with Purple Steel kind of Purple Steel around is what's always kept it back a bit, and that's why Blurple's sort of always been on top. Blurple doesn't say, oh, I have these really good matchups, but it also says I don't have any of these really bad matchups. I mean, it doesn't like seeing Amber Steel, but I think essentially if it gets to go on the play 2 games, it can sort of win it. If it gets enough 1-drops out, it can sort of do all right as well. Whereas you sort of, this deck would like to dodge Purple Steel and just see the Blurples and the Amber Steel all day, whereas Blurple can kind of evenly go into every matchup. And I think Dogs was a great pick for Bologna. I think the question I like to ask, just to make the set seem a bit more spicy than it is like Dogs the best deck in the format? And it's probably not. It's probably still is Blurple. I mean, just on paper, we've seen Blurple doing so well, but I think it's a very good, strong choice. And the list I've got on the screen is Melissa's from TFM's. I just asked if I could look at this because I thought this would probably be the best dogs list out there to pick. I think she ended up going top 128, but still, on the right day, just could have ended up being completely different and just winning the entire event. I think it really had it in it, this listed. So that's really cool. And yeah, I think dogs probably might not end up being, when we look back on set 9 of what was actually the best deck. We sometimes look back on past sets and go like, actually, I think maybe Sapphire Steel wasn't represented enough. I know I'm going to bring that deck up, but it wasn't represented that much. But maybe that would have been the best deck in set 2 or set 3. It's like Sky always talks that's like one of the best decks of those earlier sets. But maybe we won't look back and see that dogs is, but dogs just has a lot of depth. All the discard manipulation it can do. It can go control of Under the Sea. It can go aggro. The 2-cost tramp is still really good as well. And Go just stealing games. So overall, it's still a very strong pick. I think a lot will take it, but I think a lot taking it will push a lot more people to play Purple Steel. And Purple Steel is a very strong choice right now, but I think it's in that mix of I want to take it, but it's very clear that Blurple is going to be the most popular deck in the room, unless American metas are very, very different. So I have got a Purple Steel list here, and I can go hand on heart and say I'm not really the Purple Steel player. I don't play much of the deck. So all I did was I went and got Diego's list and started playing it and started tweaking things around with it. And I think maybe it's 2 cards different at best from what Diego was playing and has been posting on Twitter. So thank you very much for that list. But this is the one that I've had built if I ever want to play Purple Steel. And I think, yeah, it's a very strong choice. And talking to him as well, he puts a lot of it very much into perspective. I think you can still win your Blurple matchup. If we watched the best of 5 game in the finals in Bologna, it didn't look completely one-sided for the Blurple player. There was some moments and some games where the purple steel player was just really far ahead and managed to win it. So it still has application into its worst matchup. And then the rest of the field, I say that you go positive into all those matchups. It wants to see amber steel, or I think most of them want to see amber steel. You want to see dogs. You want to see green blue. Like, you're still fine with seeing green blue as well. Everything else is sort of popular in the format, and even all the random stuff like amber sapphire princesses, it's probably fine into it. Ruby steel as well, it's probably fine into that. There's a lot of control, mid-range control, so it's pretty good into everything really. It just sort of loses some points into the blurple matchup, but to be honest with you, that's only when you're going second, and going first you can sort of kind of win it as well. So that's kind of everyone's reasoning for purple steel being such a strong pick. And I think as well with a lot of the higher end testing, I think, and also in a lot of the discords as well, it's not just the higher end testing, it's very apparent that dogs did very well in Bologna, so a lot of people are going to want to meta predict and bring it to Milwaukee and say it's a strong pick. But then of course people will counter pick that and go, well, if dogs is going to be a higher representation in Milwaukee, I'll just take the counter to dogs, which is purple steel, and maybe, you know, piggyback off those wins and have a very good run. But I think overall, in general, just purple steel's never really that bad. As I say, your matchup spread is, the room is good. It's just the most popular deck in the format, Blurple, is probably a bad matchup for you. So you won't want to see that many of that. But when we were looking at the sort of tables and Swiss tables, Blurple was represented at the bottom, the middle, and the higher table. So you could have a day where you dodge it all the time because, you know, you're just getting that matchup that's one pairing different to it, and you're getting the green blue, then you're going to get the amber steel, and maybe you see one or two Blurples. But overall, you could probably still go a day without seeing too much Blurple, which feels mad because I saw 5 in Bologna. So but it's all that like matchup roulette, and I think with dogs kind of taking a bigger percentage, especially over in the over now that we've seen how good it is and how well it performed. I know that 2 of the top 8 were dogs, weren't there? And then there was quite a lot of the top 32 representation had that color combo. So I think Purple Steel probably is the strongest pick to bring, and I think as well, if you bring it, the only real counter pick is to say, I'm going to bring something like Blurple and then make it a very much a focused on beating steel matchups Blurple. But then you're kind of going, well, I'm also knowing that the purple steel is only coming because the dogs is here. So I'm kind of also got a bad matchup into that, or a not very good one. So it can be kind of rough to really count around it. So I think overall, to be honest with you, purple steel is one of the strongest choices, especially if you're undecided. I think as well the deck has tons of depth. It's very skill based, but it's very easy to pick up and understand what a Doc Steel deck is trying to do. So if you're still undecided a week out, you can definitely bring that deck and do well. I think Purple Steel, yeah, is probably one of the strongest picks. You can build it in so many different ways as well. Like at Store Champs, I've seen it built into like Mirror Breaker Purple Steels, and then you've got Blurple Killer Purple Steels with a bit more burn put in there, or you've got just like standard mid-range that beats up all the other steel and mid-range decks. You've got tons of ways you can build it, and you could just play it and keep tweaking it as well. So I think Purple Steel is definitely one of the strongest, and I think that's not like I'm breaking any sort of secret there. I'm pretty sure most people would know that it's one of the stronger choices right now for anyone. But if you've spent loads of money on Dumbos and you've just spent hours playing Blurple, I think Blurple is still really, really strong. It's most likely going to be very represented, and it's probably gonna win it again, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's outside. It will want to do what it will do. What it wants to do pretty much every game. If you don't miss ramp, you ramp onto, you put your 4-drop. You're playing an ink advantage, and then you're going to draw a ton of cards of Finders Keepers and Second Star and Dumbo and all those options. And Hades is still one of the best removal cards in the game. I think. People missing ramp, getting run over by aggro is what's pushing people to not play it as much. Also, it being the most popular deck in the format means it's just going to be heavily targeted, which is completely understandable as well. But I still think Blurple is one of the stronger picks. And this is just after I came back from Bologna, slightly edited version of what I'd want to play for the list. And I'll say even when I played in, I was one game off getting to the day 2, and I don't feel like I was being targeted too much. Like I did play 2 amber steels, I think it was, and 1 green blue, which were targeted, but I played 5 mirrors as well, so I just felt like I was another deck in the room really rather than being targeted. So it still has all the options. It's still does the most powerful things really, just playing at that ramp 2 ink advantage and using it to the best of value, because of course green blue does that as well, but I don't think it uses it to as good of a value as purple does. You have an option in every matchup, even though amber steel and dogs are coming, like it doesn't mean that they are actually just going to win the game instantly. I think if they win the die roll, it's very, very rough, but overall you still have Into the Unknown, which is a crazy card, Hades, and shifting this Elsa, which I put as a 2 count just to stomp out. I think it's pretty good into aggro, and I think it's pretty good into the mirrors because you can stop second star being sung as well. But overall, yeah, you just have application into every matchup. So if you don't want to go into it's this kind of the same thing as bringing Blurple or Purple Steel. If you bring Blurple, it's kind of like, I think I can probably beat everyone in the room, whereas Purple Steel is like, I probably don't want to see Blurple, but I'm also giving myself an advantage by building this deck in this certain color combo as well, because I get access to all of the steel removal. On top of that, I get access to all of these purple cards that are pretty strong right now as well. So I think Blurple is probably the second strongest choice out of this and Purple Steel, which is mad because, like I say, I brought Blurple to Bologna, but I think now actually Purple Steel is a stronger choice. And my opinion has always been is I don't want to bring Purple Steel because I'm just going to eventually lose to a Blurple, as we've actually technically just seen on all of the streams and stuff like that. In the finals, it was, you went as far as you could and then you just lose to a Blurple at some point. But I think maybe with the dogs coming in, and like I'm seeing quite a lot of players favoring dogs, even some interesting stuff like green steels and what have you are coming in. Amber Steel's not going anywhere. I think a lot of Amber Steel is going to be represented in America, if I'm honest with you. I think as well from Sky success in Denver, that property really impacts America's meta. Green Blue's sort of gone away as well, which means Amber Steel can sort of be even stronger because that was a horrendous matchup for the deck. So yeah, I think overall I'd still bring Purple Steel. I think you've now got a wider matchup spread and a wider meta to play with than you've got just like these big Blurple shares, and I still think Blurple will be some ridiculous like 30% meta share, but maybe a little bit less because there's just a few options now, which is pretty nice for the end of the set. But what I'd really play if I was going to Milwaukee is I'd probably play the Amber Steel that I'm playing a lot recently. As I said, I'd be playing knowing the knowledge that I've already done one event, and I brought Blurple to Bologna. And to be honest with you, I kind of forget those things of, when you play a bigger event and it was 8 rounds on day one, which is, to be honest with you, isn't that many rounds for events that I've done in the past. It's just getting tied down to those mirrors, getting a bit upset with variants, getting a bit tired, getting a bit just fed up with the game, I think is the best way to describe it. Whereas I picked up Amber Steel as well because at this point I'm sort of just seeing the set out until we get to set 10 and picking that up again for the events that we've got going there. When the next set comes out and we've got loads more to play with. For myself personally, I think I've only got one more set 9 event to really practice for and get into. So I've been really just enjoying Amber Steel. It's just very quick games. It's the game for you, in my opinion, is sometimes done by the mulligan. I need these XYZ cards in my hand to win this game. I didn't find them in the mulligan. I've probably lost the game, or I did find them and I can get to play the game and I get to win the game. It's very simple. The games are very short. I think as well, leading into a bigger event, that just helps. For me personally, you just get more downtime, more time to relax and sip water and have some snacks or whatever. Also as well, it's like the deck I've put the most time into. I had a terrible run with it at CCQ, but I think, just knowing exactly what your deck can do is always the best thing to do. Also as well, aggro tends to get under people's nerves. If they're around 5 in, they don't really want to be seeing aggro and having to deal with Daisy Nala, Lady Nala, or whatever. And people just, it throws their game off as well. You can also just steal games quite easily for the fact that you are an aggressive deck if they manage to miss some tempo. It's not even just missing ramp on 2. It can be Purple Steel missing a Calhoun on 2, and you can just steal that game from them because you're just going to quest out for tons and just finish the game before they can recover from that massive tempo loss. You get all those things in the deck, which I think is pretty useful for me. I really like that. It's fairly, exactly what you want to do every game. You want to mulligan for those 1, 2, 3 singing strength and then just going wide and trying to find that dock and finishing out the game. So for me personally, this is what I've been enjoying playing. This build's a bit different. It's more just pure aggro rather than playing the Troubadour, which just because I played so many games where I top decked Troubadour or Pete as well, and it was like I just needed the thing to set quested for 2. So I went for a bit more aggressive build. I've been playing it on my store champs, and I've been quite liking it. So I think this would be my personal pick for Milwaukee if I was going. I think purple still generally has the chance to win it at this point. I think the mat is getting more diluted with counter decks for Blurple, with aggro decks to beat Amber Steel as well, so dogs, and we're kind of getting, you know, this fitting into about 4 or 5 decks. If we include green blue in there as well, and even share, where purple still out of those 5 decks has the best matchup spread. Blurple, because it's Blurple, it's very hard to say that's a bad choice. And still bring dogs. I still think dogs is going to be a bad choice. I think it's going to be really well represented. I think, yeah, there's still going to be a lot of purple steel, but as I say, there's still going to be a lot of Blurple as well, and there's still going to be a lot of amber steel. So I think if you wanted to jump on top of everything, I think purple steel has the best matchup spread. Then it goes to Blurple, then it goes to dogs, and then probably amber steel. And green blue is on that list. I just don't think I could wholeheartedly say I'd bring green blue to an event unless you are Pandemonium Heart Alphos level good at the deck, if I'm honest with you. And if you back yourself that hard, please do bring it. But yeah, these are just all the lists that I'd cover. As I say, these are all the lists I'd sort of look at bringing if I was going to Milwaukee. And I think purple steel is going to probably win the DLC.